Some of the kind of obvious challenges for cities in the next coming years are really going to be how they adapt and become resilient to climate change. The pandemic and calls for racial justice were a big wake-up call for the whole industry. For me, the projects that really resonate are projects that have a wider impact, not just how the building performs in and of itself, which is important, but also how they can strengthen ties to the community around them and kind of have an impact wider than their self.
I think we're all struggling to determine what does a post-COVID world look like. And I think it's people like Jeanne Gang who are going to help us figure that out and come up with innovative solutions where urban cores are still very attractive places for people to live.
We've constructed a narrative in this country that strengthening our communities in a way that makes them resilient, that adapts to climate change, is something that can only be done at great expense or by dislocating communities and removing them from the historic context. What Jeanne's work is demonstrating is that that doesn't have to be the case.
Every project has an opportunity to be idealistic and actionable. So for our project Solstice on the Park, it was really about, it's a condominium building, it's apartments, but it's also south-facing, and we can optimize the building to reduce the solar heat gain, and we did that through this angling of the facade, which is the angle of the solstice. You can live there, enjoy your apartment, but really use a lot less energy.
Buildings, on the one hand, are static by their nature, but when you look at Jeanne Gang's buildings, they have motion to them. And the way she's able to deliver that in different ways in each project, but consistently across her projects, is very special.
I think what Studio Gang does, and Jeanne in particular, is she pushes developers to think beyond their own floor plates, think beyond their own pro forma, and sort of challenges them to think about how you might make the built environment better all around. If you build a little less, and you build in a little bit more quality, and you focus a little more on the public space, you're going to get a much better longer-term investment.
I can always tell if a project is successful, frankly, if people love it and use it to death. In a project like the Boathouse, really that project started as a kind of re-envisioning of the Chicago River, which is very polluted, but trying to make that a new frontier for social public space. To do that, we really need to change people's idea about what the river is. Really a place that you can own and you can be part of.
Jeanne's work is visionary because they work right at the center of a Venn diagram that is sustainability, urban issues, and community. And yet they do all of this sort of really technical, practical stuff, and they create beautiful buildings.
St. Regis was really the first tall building that we got to design that was very out there. What we did there was make the bottom of the building really porous. So it's really a gateway. People can pass through it, and it connects the river to a park. So it's really about like rethinking the tall building in terms of how it connects to the urban realm around it. It's something inspiring, and I think that's what architecture should be. It should be something that you want to go experience. You want to go out of your way to go see it.
One of the things that they've done really interestingly at Studio Gang is they've created a framework for community input into design projects. Those projects are designing public spaces in the gaps left by buildings, but doing that with the community input. And to go so far as to create a framework, not just to come and design down, but to instead say design comes from the community up is pretty cool.
I think that what she's demonstrated is a willingness to take some risk. And I think she's created projects as a result that are very distinctive. She's also been able to put into practice many of the environmental goals that we collectively have as an industry.
What she is doing very powerfully is saying that we can live in the real environment, not an urban environment, but in a real wild, quote unquote, environment in Chicago, in San Francisco, in Chattanooga. That's really important.
This moment demanded of us that we choose somebody whose career represents something that the rest of us in the industry can emulate, that she inspires the next generation of leadership.
You know, we're still in the early days of Jeanne Gang's influence on cities. You know, she still has another 20 or 30 years of practice ahead of her, which is really exciting to think about.
I really share ULI's commitment to creating this next generation of leaders in urban design and architecture, really investing in community to make communities vibrant and take them forward. And so for them to recognize me makes me feel like what we've done over the last 20 years has been seen and appreciated.